All right, here we are ready for another lesson about angles. Today we're going to talk about complementary and supplementary angles. And actually we've already been dealing with these type of angles, but we didn't put an official vocabulary name to them. Okay, so the first type of angles are called complementary angles. These are any two angles in which the sum, meaning we're going to add them, of their measures is 90 degrees. And so if you look at this picture, we have angle 1 up here, angle 2 down here, and when you put those together, they equal this 90-degree angle here. So the relationship between these two angles is they are said to be complementary angles. The second type are called supplementary angles, and these are any two angles in which the sum, again, we're going to add them together, sum of their measures is 180 degrees. And so in the picture, we have angle 3 here, and if we add to it angle 4, and see down here we have this line that it's creating, and so that's the 180 degrees. And so these two are said to have a relationship that is supplementary. So those are our two words for today, complementary, which if we go down here to the bottom of our page, just to help you remind you of this, the corner of your paper is always 90-degree angle, okay? And so this corner is 90 degrees, and so a corner is like a complementary angle if we divided it up. If we divide it into two angles, this angle plus this angle, they would be complementary. Whereas if we go over here into the middle of the paper, we have this straight line here at the bottom. And as we were doing in our last lesson, a straight line has an angle of 180 degrees. And if we divided that into two different angles and we added them together, they would create this 180 degrees. And so a straight line is supplementary. Okay, just to kind of help you remember that, corner, complementary, straight edge, supplementary. Okay, so let's go back up here and just work with those two a little bit. Using this diagram, it says we're going to name two pairs of complementary angles and two pairs of supplementary angles. And right before that, there was a key thing they wanted to point out. Complementary and supplementary angles do not have to be adjacent. They don't have to be next to each other to be complementary. We just have to know when you add two angles together, you get 90 or 180. Okay, so a lot of times they are next to each other, but not always. And so if we pick angle number 1 and we want an angle that is complementary or adds to 190, we could add these two because see it creates that corner right there. So angle 1 and angle 2 are complementary angles. Angle 3 and 4 are complementary. 5 and 6, 7 and 8, because when you put each of those together, they create the corners of the rectangle. Now, if you also notice, in each of these pairings, there's a smaller angle and a larger angle. Okay, so two different sizes, and they're all the smaller ones in these corners are the same size, and all the larger angles in these corners are the same size. So I could then say angle 3 is complementary to angle 5 because of what I know about rectangles and these diagonals. Okay, supplementary angles in this picture. Let's say that I pick angle 10. Angle 10, if I add another angle to it to make a straight line, I could pick number 11. So angle 10 and angle 11 are supplementary to each other. I could have picked angle 10 and angle 9. They would create this straight line. I could pick this angle and this angle because 90 plus 90 would be 180. So any angle, two angles that add to 180 are supplementary. Okay, next picture. Again, they're going to pick two angles for us, and we're going to decide what the relationship is. So if I'm looking at angle 1, which is here, and angle 6, which is over here, if I put them together, it looks like they create a straight line, and so that would be a supplementary relationship. Angles 1 and 2. Okay, so now I'm looking at angle 1 to angle 2. And so when I put those two together, see how it creates that right angle right there? So these two are complementary. Angles 4 and 5 together, those look kind of small. We need a nice angle like the corner of our paper. So I would say that these two are neither. They don't add to 90 or 180. And then angles 3 and 4. If I look at that, I know that that is a 90-degree angle because 90 here and 90 here creates that straight line. So these two have to be complementary. All right, now using those relationships with numbers, okay, again, we're just going to classify, is it complementary, supplementary, or neither? And so I'm looking at my angles, and they're just two angles that you decide to put together. So this is a 59 degree, and we're going to add to it a 31 degree. So 0, carry my 1, 90 degrees. That means that these two are complementary to each other. I have a 180 degree angle and a 72 degree angle. 108 plus 72, 180 degrees. So these two are supplementary to each other. Next one, I have a 38 degree angle and a 62 degree angle. If I add those together, I get 90, so these two are complementary to each other. Number 6, 90 degrees, 90 degrees, and when I add those, we get 180, so these two are supplementary to each other. Number 7, I have a 106 degree angle and a 78 degree angle. That adds to 184, so here we have a neither. They're not related in those either of those manners. Number 8, we have a 43 and a 47, and when you add those, you get 90 degrees, so these two are complementary to each other. Okay, and if we go to the back side of your notes, finding angle measurements, again, we're going to take a look at finding a missing angle. It says tell whether the angles are complementary, supplementary, and then find the value of x. Okay, well, if I'm going to put these two angles together, see how they create that straight line? So that's a 180 degrees. That means that they are supplementary. And I know they have to add to 180, so if I subtract out the 64, I will get the missing part that goes over here with the x. And so if I subtract, I get 116 degrees for angle x. Next one, if I look at my two angles that are going together, they create this corner. So that's a 90-degree corner. It tells you that right there. So these two are complementary. And to find out how much is left over here for x, I just take the 90, subtract out the 71, and I get 19 degrees for angle x. And then finally we have number 11. Looks like when I put this 142 degree angle together with x, it creates that straight line right there, which is 180 degrees. So I'm going to subtract 180 minus 142, and I get 38 degrees left for angle x. Number 12 says, excuse me, if angle A is supplementary to angle B, if they're supplementary, that word means we have 180 degrees involved. Okay, it means when I add angle A to angle B, they equal 180. Okay, so it says if angle A is 26, so I know this is 26, find angle B. I don't know it. And so if I subtract 26 from 180, 180 minus 26, I get 154 degrees for angle X. And the last one, it says if G is complementary to angle H, that means they add to 90 degrees. So angle G plus angle H would equal 90. And it says we know that angle H is 63 degrees, but we don't know G. We could subtract the 90 minus 63, and we get 27 degrees for angle X. Okay, and so using the idea of complementary and supplementary, we can solve for missing angles.